Terry Rozier is innocent, and I'm here to prove it because no one on the internet will defend him. Charlotte Hornets, like many years unfortunately, were terrible. So they were already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Now what do NBA teams do when they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs? They tank. D. Gordon, my man, he knows the answer. They tank. But how do they tank? They bench their star players and they play G Leaguers. They play bad players, right? But they don't want to just come out and say that. They trade away their star players, right? During the trade deadline, they trade away their star players. Or they get injured. So let's go to this game in question real quick. Terry Rozier, you can see I pulled up the 2022-2023 season. This is the game in question. Only plays 10 minutes. The question mark is that, he went out there and he only played 10 minutes and then he sat himself because he had a foot injury. Well, that's weird that Kelly Oubre, exact same thing, who was a starter and, played 30 minutes a game for them. Kelly Oubre only played 12 minutes in that game, had a shoulder injury, and as you can see, this is the last game he played that year, even though they had 8 games left. This is Kelly Oubre, another mastermind in this big gambling conspiracy. We can see on the 24th, which is just injury reporting the day after, he has a shoulder injury. Same with Terry Rozier. He gets this foot injury, and he doesn't play again for the Hornets, at least not that year. PJ Washington, he didn't sit out that game. He played the whole game, essentially. And then he played 4 more games. And you can see he was kind of balling out. He scored 28 points, 21 points, 43 points, and upset the Mavericks. By the way, if you don't remember, this was the year of the Wemby draft coming up. So teams are extra incentivized to tank. Well, the team doesn't really like how good PJ Washington is playing. That's weird. The next game, he only plays 12 minutes and then doesn't play again for the rest of the year. The day after, he shows up on the injury report again with a foot injury. A foot injury again, another nagging injury. Strange. Only 12 minutes. And he doesn't play again. Dennis Smith Jr., he was also a part of that Pelicans game. He played 2 more games and the team won. And then he showed up on the injury report the day after with a toe injury and never played again for the team. Are all these guys in on it? Or is there something with the Charlotte Hornets organization that they're trying to tank and so they're telling these guys that they need to get injured, possibly? I'm just speculating. I don't know that for sure. Gordon Hayward also played in that Pelicans game, played 2 more games, played well, and the team beat the Mavericks, and then we never saw him again for the rest of the year. Weird how all of their best players, not that they're like super good players, all of their best players randomly show up on the injury report essentially the exact same week. It's essentially a week span here from like the 23rd until April 1st. Gordon Hayward, this time an ankle injury. Can't all be for foot. You got to switch it up. You got an ankle injury, foot injury. One guy's got a shoulder injury. So why am I saying all this? Well, I'm saying all this to say, hey, maybe this was something within the Charlotte organization going down here. Maybe. Just a crazy thought that all of their top players either got traded away or got injured in the exact same week. Maybe it's not just Terry Rozier's shaving points. The reason I'm pointing all this out, by the way, is I didn't see a single person mention any of this on ESPN when they talked about it, on any of these like big YouTubers. It was never mentioned on Twitter. The Wall Street Journal article, like nobody talked about all this. You would think that these would be very important details that you would want to highlight if you're, essentially saying a player might be shaving points, which is like one of the worst things that you can say about a pro sports player, right? Maybe the team told him, hey, we need you to get injured here and not play for the rest of the season. Or maybe he legitimately did have a foot injury that was nagging him a little bit and we're like, hey, sit out for the rest of the season. You did well for us. And Terry Rozier, like we established, not exactly a star, but also is good enough where if you're actively trying to lose games, you don't want him on the floor. So the fact that Oubre went out in the exact same game, also with an injury around the same time, I think tells you a lot that, hey, maybe this was organization-wide. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's not possibly anything nefarious going on here. If you had a contact within the Charlotte organization and you were a gambler and you knew that they were going to be trying to sit all of their star players, then you absolutely could profit off of it. You could bet the other team's spread, and a lot of times you would do well, or you could bet that player's under if that player was actually going to play. Anyway, I won't ramble at you guys too much. I know a lot of you guys are here just for the plays, but I have sort of a tiny little platform, and I had to get it off my chest because I felt like Charlie in the It's Always Sunny memes, like putting all this stuff together. I'm like, all these guys are sitting out all year. Like, there's no way that Terry just decided to do this and was like calling people and like, hey, I'm going to shave points in this game. It just made absolutely no sense, and no one was like even pointing this out. If you just believe what you hear at first, it's like, oh, this is clearly another Jonte Porter situation.